All right. So you didn't miss much. We just we kind of said you know we didn't really get into it, but we kind of oh, and one thing I did say is I was gonna have to feed the animals because I just got back and they're gonna destroy it. But but yeah, we were just sort of thinking about, we talked about 2 weeks ago, the possibility of sort of running something outside of Nettle Day. I don't know if that's, I guess our focus today is kind of, getting some sort of agenda for the coming year. So I guess the first thing to decide is that something that we want to think about for this year. So we need to think about that without talking to Omar. I mean, obviously we can still talk to details with Omar at a later date, but we could just say, hey, let's give having CC Music Day on July 13th, sort of like in conjunction with Net Legal Day. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with projects that do this sort of thing, but there's TechSpace, there's a very well-known conference called actually, I don't know if you know this. People kind of refer to it as the Rejects conference. It might be like Colony Rejects or QCon.
I'm not hearing. I can barely hear you, and I thought I could hear enough, but I'm not hearing it enough anymore.
Yeah, same. You're too far away.
I can basically make out every word until the last, 2 sentences.
Yeah, I normally connect to my phone, but then I was being stupid. So, yeah. So there is precedent for sort of having aligned conferences that are not the same thing. So, what happens for I think it's called Cloud Native Con, maybe it's called QCon, I don't really know. But the big Kubernetes conference, there's a secondary conference that's completely run by separate people, and it's called the Rejects. And what they decided is that there were so many good talks that were not able to fit the official scenario. So KubeCon is run by the official people, and then the Rejects is just sort of like a community add-on thing. I guess it's kind of like, you have these everybody, all these businesses, they have a Super Bowl party. Those aren't put on by the NFL. They just sort of happen. So that's sort of kind of what I'm envisioning potentially here. Now, I mean, that's one option, and I think that might be a decent option to start. One thing that might be interesting in the future is to maybe do a whole month. Maybe just say I don't know, whether you use the term net label or CC Music, or that's maybe a topic for another day. But that would sort of if we just said, hey, July is CC Music Month, and we're gonna do a bunch of stuff. And then I think people that aren't able to do things on the 13th for different countries have their weekend, different days, and it may be that the 13th falls on the Jewish Sabbath or something like that. So which it did this year, I guess. And so if you just say like it's hey, it's a month of stuff, then people don't feel like they're like secondary by not doing it on the day. I mean, you can say all you want, hey, you can have a Netflix day on, the 21st, if that makes more sense than the 14th. But I'm not convinced that people will necessarily like believe that if you don't sort of like make it more explicit. But my thought was, you can use, maybe you do like purely online events or the first week, or you sort of like plan to have like a crescendo towards the end of the month, and you sort of use these other events to get people involved, and so that get it in people's minds, because I think sometimes people are like, oh yeah, I'd love to have done that, but like I didn't know about it, and so it's sort of like, okay, we're gonna put like a few resources in the first week, but we're gonna sort of like put more eggs in the end of the month basket. Then that might be a good way to do it. But I don't know if that might be too much for year one. I don't know. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, we have a lot of time until then, right?
We do, but at the same time, like we have, other things that we need to be working on. So, like I want to get besides Jason is said he'll be the curator, sort of like the head of that little posse. I sort of like think of them as like the stakeholder representative. How formalized that gets, whatever. But I really would like to get one for musicians. I think that we have a, there's not great attendance from musicians at these meetings, and I think whether or not people come to the meeting or not, we need somebody, that will be willing to be the sort of like sounding board for those sorts of things. So I want to work on that, and then I want to get, a little more, like process around like the website and stuff too, like with the stream and everything, like that's not really something that I don't think I have the time to like manage that. I wish Mike were here because he's got a project where he's doing some,
Yeah, I mean the post that I had that Mike said he liked, I'd really like to talk to Mike and Omar about that and see if there can be any agreement on trying to get this. I mean, I'd also like you guys to try like connecting to AzuraCast and seeing, if you like what's available there. And I mean, I don't know who uses Apple, but I use Audio Hijack to connect to it. I don't know if there's other things that, I'm sure there are other ways to connect to it, so you can just stream from yourself. Like, I guess I kind of need to know from Omar, like what people were using or all that.
Well, I mean, if we want to do something similar to make it like life easy for people, then I think that's a reasonable thing. But I mean, if we know how to do this, outside of that, then maybe we just should not worry about it.
But I don't know what that means. Like, I don't think we have agreement on what we're talking about here. That's what I'm trying to get to. And what I'm concerned about when you're talking about next year, I'm feeling like what we can do until then can completely change the dynamics of what that means next year. And so,
Well,
like, if we could regularly be in touch with these people who would be participating next year, maybe it all completely changes. Maybe they start to wanting to meet more involved. Maybe they offer some resources. Maybe they, want to go in a different direction. I'm concerned about talking about something in the future that locks us into something where the potential that we have right now, we, might change what that means.
I mean, I don't think, like, we're not planning the event today. What I'm trying to figure out is, do we want to have a separate thing outside of Net Label Day? Whatever that looks like, yeah, I agree. That's something that whoever wants to get involved. I guess the question is, do we think that the term net label is confusing enough to people to where we want to do something without that term? That's really the question.
I would say we keep it for now, but we also do something that's separate from that. Like when we were talking about Carsey Blanton or what's his name? The guy that's coming to Rhinos. I never remember his name.
When you say keep it, what do you mean keeping
what? What I mean is that we should definitely keep, plan. I would think keep planning to do something, to do Net Label next year. But I don't want to not just. I want to be able to bring in these other people that are not Net Label related.
So I guess what I'm saying is Omar's going to do Net Label Day.
Okay.
No, Omar has not suggested that he's not going to do Net Label Day.
Right. Okay.
So Omar has what he wants to do with that. And what I'm saying is,
and Net Label Day included people that were not Net Label, right? Technically,
yeah.
Did, right?
So this is kind of the thing that I'm talking about. Is it confusing enough that we want to just do something that is like how again, I'm going to use the Super Bowl as an example. Places can't say they're having a Super Bowl party because the NFL is going to sue them. They say big football party thing. That's what we're fucking doing. we're gonna have a Net Label Day event, but we're not gonna call it Net Label Day. That's what I'm asking. Do we want to do that? That's my suggestion. Is that
would it be better
talking about
to call it like a celebration of CC Music Day or something?
Right, exactly. That's exactly it. So, but the thing is that there's all this history built with Net Label Day, and people like Net Label Day. Right. I think changing that is maybe not the right course of action. Even if we had Omar here and we could convince him, but Omar's not here. So
does he need convincing at this point?
Was that?
As far as you know from your experience with him, does he need convincing at this point?
I think the name has a certain cachet. There are people that have been doing Net Label Day for 10 years, and it would be sometimes you just have to rip the Band-Aid off, but at the same time, maybe there's an opportunity to do something different. So that's what I'm saying. We're already talking about maybe doing something else related to Net Label Day, like having a second stream or something like that. We're already talking about meeting in Jackson, which I need to talk to Rhino about, how many people do we want to do for year one and stuff like that. But if we, and I don't have a super strong opinion either way, but I guess if somebody were just like, hey, you have to decide, I would say, let's just do it. Let's just pick July 13th, or not July 13th. Let's just pick the second Saturday, which this year would have been July 13th, and that's going to be CC Music Day. And then if we want to, if we want to try doing something else, like a bigger thing, I think that's a decent goal. But I think maybe that might be a bit much for year one. But again, if we get a lot of people involved and we think, yeah, let's do some multiple events, that works out for whatever reason with other things. Let's make this happen. We think we can do this. Then I think it's easier to like start small and do that well, and then like, expand once you set the resources, rather than say, okay, we're gonna fit all this stuff. Let's try to do it, because you end up wearing people thin when like they feel like they have like a task that's too difficult. So I would rather start small. But I do think that, clearly we're able to get one stream going. I think, again, some of this may be like branding with Rhino. I don't know, we'll have to talk to him again about the specifics, but just like the name change thing, or the new event thing, the side event, I think is like these are all recorded, so people know that we're down with Net Level Day, but there's a risk that people that are, uninformed, like think there's some sort of schism. And maybe that's not bad. Maybe that's like a controversy that gets people interested. Like, oh, there's things going on. I don't know, but I think that I don't think there are enough people involved with Net Label Day, other than Omar, for this to be a problem. But I guess the question is, like, do other people feel like this is gonna like cause a rift?
So are you thinking then Net Label is the 13th, but there's another?
No, so I think Omar is gonna do Net Label Day July 14th. So he'll do his 51-hour stream, which is like July, and that's gonna be July 14th, whether it's a Wednesday or a Tuesday or a Thursday or a Saturday, it doesn't matter. It's always July 14th. So I'm saying second Saturday. That way we always have a weekend event.
Right. So, but next year, I don't know what it is, but we could have two events, like within 3 days of each other.
Yeah. So actually, I think they would be overlapping.
Okay.
So this is so the idea back when Net Label Day started, people were doing shows like I remember there was a show in Italy. I think there were some in Brazil. There were like events all over the planet. They're happening in different time zones, probably literally like on different days. If you look, if you did the time zones. So the time zone situation makes the day thing, like interesting. The fact that there's 51 hours in a single day is sort of like
it's very confusing. It's cool,
yeah,
but it's
right. Yeah. It's a weird thing, and yeah. I don't have any problems with it. Like the Net Label scene, part of what appeals to people about it in a lot of cases is that it is kind of weird and funky, and so it sort of fits.
Weird.
Yeah. I think, and I think the Net Label scene. And so there is a certain like counterculture sort of like alternative scene vibe that has always existed. But there's also like net labels that are doing commercial stuff. So there's this like, and like, I think some net label, like I don't feel like there's this huge tension with Black Sonic. I mean, like we do have this commercial stuff, But like we're super involved with the Net Label stuff and always have been with Net Label Day. But there's also net labels that I think might feel like they might feel more comfortable with something that's CC music. But I don't know. Maybe they just don't care. I mean, you know, like, but I think that because Net Label has this sort of like othering sort of thing. I think like accepted, you know, it's like, you know, like it's a scene that is cool with that. But I think some folks probably want to distance themselves from it because like they're like, oh no, we're a real label. We release our stuff under Creative Commons, but we have like real physical stuff. We're not a net label. We're a real label. And I think there's this like I want them to feel like they have a space that's maybe a little more commercial. That's sort of what I'm thinking.
Net label is popularly culturally defined as not commercial.
Well, so this is one of those things that like when Net Label started, the whole deal was that they were putting their music on the internet for free. That was the whole thing. You know, it was like music should be free. There's like a strong like open source sort of like freedom of information. All these things in like the 2000s were like super intertwined. But as the like big labels figured out streaming and just like, you know, giving people music with advertising, and that's a business model that works for them if no one else, then that part of the scene I think has maybe dwindled a little bit. Not to say that it's not there, but I think that that's maybe not as important a piece as it used to be. You know, and things like, you know, like Jeff Rosenstock, he was in a band called Bomb the Music Industry. And then he was like, well, this doesn't seem like the right vibe. like people want to sell records. So maybe this is not the right vibe. So I think, you know, this has maybe been a long, like, maybe this is something that the folks at WFMU, well, I mean, maybe the whole like WFMU thing is part of the problem. You know, like WFMU is, you know, like, what do they call it? It's I think of free jazz, but that's freeform. It's like freeform radio, right? And so like that's a vibe, and that's, you know, that's a vibe that a lot of people like. But
when I think of freeform, I just think of anything, any genre goes. Am I
wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah. So WFMU is, you know, they're in New Jersey, but you know, New York City, very, very famous radio station in the indie scene sort of thing. You know, I was like when I was in college, internet radio with like you know, like Yahoo Music and stuff like that. That was like, that's always been a part of my like adult life. So like, you know, the whole like college radio and freeform thing, that's not like a scene that I really know much about personally, but I know that it exists. And
sorry, so what was part of your life? I'm sorry.
So I'm saying, you know, like I've always had like internet, like, you know, fast internet at college and stuff, you know, like, so like I could stream music, and, you know, so like streaming has been, you know, around for, you know,
right,
4 years or so.
So you're saying you didn't rely on a radio station?
Yeah, I mean it's
Okay.
not a scene that like has like a personal like. I don't have like a personal connection to it, but I understand that people do. But I think that maybe when and I don't know enough of the inside story of what all happened with the FMA, but I think that this sort of like more independent commercial aspect of like musicians, selling their own work and wanting to be commercial, but be commercial independently, like truly independent, not like an independent label, which is like a weird term that's borderline meaningless. But I mean, these days it used to not be.
So the independence that's lacking there is that they're relying on the label.
Yeah. But I think that the WFMU either couldn't pivot to that with the FMA or wasn't interested in that commercial side of things. I don't really know, but I think the there was an inflection point that we missed as a community,
Okay.
and
well, so now that we've had like 10 years of Net Label, right? We just had the 10th year. So I guess I feel like this is maybe a chance to kind of flex over to more of a CC Music thing. And when I think of CC Music, what I feel like the moment we're kind of currently in, just outside of music, but just in general, is that people put their stuff for free on the internet, except that we now also support those people. We now also somehow regulate, and we're trying to, like, that's where I feel like the moment we're in, we're trying to figure out how to do that well. Such that basically both, the no agenda people, they call it value for value. But
yeah.
And so that's what I feel like we're trying to figure out right now. So that's like the evolution from the totally free thing. And people, the totally free, maybe it's an anarchist spirit or something. I get that, but they're also not going to be spending, I would think, as much time on that stuff, on their music as they otherwise would if they had the support, right? So I love the spirit, but I feel like reality is, if you have the money, if you're getting supported for it, you can do more of it. And, it's a support people thing, right? It's Rhino's thing. It's just the reality of the box, even as much as we want to, to do the right thing. And if a label's helping you with that, you don't want to be reliant on a label, but maybe you just don't want to put the time or skills to learn how to put it up, how to manage it, how to get the money. I don't know what all is involved there. Maybe you want the physical copies of things. Maybe you, I don't know, want to have a genre that you're connected to with a label.
Yeah, I think, one of the things that
I could talk about radio stations too. I think there's something really magical about the community that a radio station can provide. But
yeah, I mean, there's
losing you.
Holy shit on the Bluetooth. No wonder I normally use my phone. I can walk all around this place and don't have problems. Yeah, I think, one of the things that I think Monster Jinx had this vibe, and we certainly do with Black Sonic, is, the musicians that are on the label, like they're making music together, it's kind of like a collective. I mean, it's not a collective in the truest sense, but I guess the main thing is just that there's a lot of stuff that it goes on, and yeah, the net
Well, people
label
are
thing.
supporting each other, right? I mean, I also think about like magazines today. Like, what is a magazine, versus like somebody fuck Substack, but people writing on their own blog or whatever, and then
Yeah,
people, following each other and sharing each other's stuff a lot.
yeah,
Like, I don't, but there is something, I don't know, that's collective and valuable for the community aspect of, I think, people being part of a magazine
yeah.
or
I
probably
think,
part
I
of a
mean,
label or radio
we,
station.
as far as the payment thing, I mean, I think you're right. We might have opportunities that we don't foresee now. Um, that doesn't seem like something that's a year one
Absolutely.
sort of, you know, but yeah, um, so I guess we kind of need like a yes, no. Feel like we're kind of like leaning towards doing a CC music event on the second Saturday. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what that. I mean, the reality of that might hurt Net Label Day and might make CC Music Day not very doable.
I guess CC Music Day would like maybe be more for like independent artists that like aren't releasing stuff on that label.
We could potentially sell it that way, but I think ultimately, CC Music Day is just for anybody in that's releasing under CC Music net
Yeah, I
label
could
or
definitely
not.
see a lot of overlap.
Yeah,
Like in that
that, I
label.
mean, yeah.
Well, their circle is completely within our circle. That's a problem, right?
Well, see, Omar is not playing non-CC stuff because he doesn't want to get sued and he doesn't want other people to like do stuff with the music and then get sued. But there are net labels that don't use the CC license. So yeah, I mean, this is another one of those confusing things that Omar is trying to make everybody on the other side's life easier by making everything CC. But so what he has done in the past is there are net labels that don't normally put stuff out on under CC, and he said, hey, that's cool, I'd love to have you included, but just for simplicity, like what you're going to put out for net label day is going to be CC. And that's a conversation that has worked for some people and presumably has not worked for some people. So I think the ambiguity of the term, what that means is that he has to have conversations with folks about that, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But sometimes people don't want to have the conversation. I'm sure Omar is, the dude's only got 24 hours in the day, like everybody else. But sometimes, like, especially if there's like a language barrier and they're like, I don't understand, then they're out. But I think people know CC, like, oh yeah, it's that thing on Bandcamp, and if that's all people know, then that's fine. But like, we need those little icons. That's what we need. And I think that's simpler than the net label thing. And it might, and I think if people might not even know there's this like whole scene, like, oh yeah, I just put my stuff up on Bandcamp. And I mean, that's the thing that we discovered a lot, and I'm sure this is still going on, but we discovered a lot when we were doing Music Monument is people didn't really think too much about the whole Creative Commons thing. And then, some of the people, like I think like Nicholas Burgess, I think that they were kind of like maybe not super clued in on the whole like scene thing, but then like we were talking to them and then like, oh yeah, there's this like whole like this whole group of people out here that like are into this sort of thing. So it could be and I think, and I don't know, again, I don't think that we should like pretend like, I don't think we should pretend like Net Label Day doesn't exist. Like we need like a way to like co-brand it in some way.
Right.
So,
I mean,
but yeah,
what I would lean towards is to do like either a transition, like direct, like it was this, it is now this. Obviously, lots of toes. Or we do the same thing. I don't know. You know, I guess it's still like not something some would want to do, but we do this. You know, it's the same thing for a while, and then in a couple of years, it's CC Music. But you know,
what do you mean it's the same thing?
so I mean, like so next year, okay, next year the second Saturday of July is Net Label / CC Music Day. It's
Okay.
it's that for 3 years. Then
so here's the problem with like, I mean, like Net Label Day is going to be July 14th. We have no control over that. Okay. So the question is, do we want to just go with Omar, or maybe we just do something, you know, we talked about having a second stream and it's just all branded Net Label Day. And maybe that's the start. Maybe year one, we have a second stream. We populate it just like with Net Label Day. Everything's branded Net Label Day. It's just a second stream, and we run that out of Omar. Maybe that's what we do. But like we don't have control over the Net Label Day branding or anything like that. So it's just a question of, do we want to sort of like hop on, or do we want to like, you know, do our own thing? So and maybe we're not ready, you know, for that. Maybe we still do need the, you know, the Net Label Day branding. I think it's worth a shot, you know, to sort of like see how this goes. That's my personal opinion, but.
And we need a separate day. Why?
Well, I think, I mean, ultimately, you know, the weekend thing, you know, having it on Saturday.
I agree, but if we're always going to be like, so then there will always be July 14th.
Yeah. I mean, so I mean,
I feel like we're kind of going to screw ourselves forever if that's the situation. If we're trying to do a separate day, and sometimes it lines up, most of the time it doesn't.
Well, we could call it Net Label Day Plus. We could brand it differently and say, or we could just say, this is Net Label Party Day. This is the day that we get together in person and we do something. Like we could just do that to start, and then we could see where it grows. But, you know, Omar hasn't shown any desire to like not make it July 14th. And like, again,
but you're saying that it's outside of Omar. You're right. You're saying that it's
Net Label Day is not like owned or associated in any like real sense with Friends of CC Music.
Right.
So, you know, we've been in the process of like trying to figure out how this is going to go. Right. And what I'm asking is, at this point, do we want to just like rip the Band-Aid off and say, okay, we're doing our own thing? Okay. We still like Net Label Day. We're still supporting Net Label Day in as much as like, you know, like here's Net Label Day. It's a thing, but we're going to do our own thing. Or do we want to do another year of trying to figure out, you know, sort of this like, you know, riding the sidecar on the motorcycle sort of thing. Like, and maybe, I mean, like maybe we get another year under our belts, and then we feel more confident in doing our own thing.
Well, I mean,
But-
if Omar were to go, I mean, if anybody could do a Net Label Day stream, right? It's just
Yeah, I don't.
Omar.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the URL, I guess, or Omar has the URL. I mean, and
Yeah, I mean, he has
nobody
the
has
like
started
Twitter,
something else.
the Twitter feed, like the
Right.
Facebook. He has all the like all that kind of stuff.
But if we were successful on having a CC Music Day and it was on the Saturday, and people basically stopped, I don't know, paying attention to Net Label Day, or they didn't get any responses or something, and then became CC Music Day, and then basically there ended up not being a Net Label Day, some other person could just start a Net Label Day, right? I mean, I guess I'm just saying, like,
Well,
if it's not in
I
our
mean,
control, we just don't want to lose it as a thing where people are kind of accepting that Omar or whoever takes over for Omar
so
accepted
I
as
guess
being the one doing it.
I guess like you know, the way that I'm sort of thinking about how this might work out is that you know, this is not, I don't know exactly what the, maybe it's like, well, people probably aren't going to know that. So, you know, when you have like a national team and you have a club team, like you do both, but like they're different. So like if we say that like we're gonna do CC Music Day, like Block Sonic's gonna like do stuff. Like Donnie Ozone is gonna have a Net Label Day release, and it's gonna be on July 14th. But that doesn't mean Block Sonic won't also contribute to CC Music Day. So like there's no reason why people can't do both. Like, and I don't see. I think because this is something that Net Label has done for years, I don't see like having like releases be a thing. Like let that be a Net Label Day thing. Like that can still be a like, you know, like the whole thing about the label and like why labels are or were, you know, important is it's the release. I mean, it was the whole reason of the term is that they were releasing stuff on the net. Like the album release that's the label thing. And Omar's you know, thesis is that if you're an independent musician, whether you call yourself a label or not, you are the one doing the release, and therefore you are a label. That the release is the key thing. And so I think that Net Label Day having the releases all be on July 14th, I think that makes sense. So whatever else we do, whether we brand it Net Label Day, you know, the whole day thing is again maybe the problem. Again, so maybe we could start calling it like Net Label Week. And then again, the whole 51 hours thing that is maybe weird and confusing is like less confusing at that point. Like you still have Net Label Day on the 14th, and that's when the releases come out. But what you could do, at least theoretically, is you could have like, you know, all the like, you know, you could plan it such that you had like new, you know, like whatever releases, you know, the Hall of Famers, like we did this year, where you'd have all DJs just play whatever they want. And you could do that up until the releases, and then the stream maybe switches over to be like, you know, the new releases from that year. I mean, I know Omar like replayed the stream and stuff. So there's some things that we could play with. And you know, I think that, you know, Omar is not going to have a problem with any, you know, if we say, hey, we want to do Net Label Week, it's in conjunction with Net Label Day. Let's figure out how we're going to do that. Like, do we want to just do that Saturday to Saturday? And then, you know, wherever Net Label Day falls within Net Label Week, that's when it is. Those are some details we could work out. But I think, you know, today what we need to figure out is, do we want to stick with the Net Label Day branding for another year? and maybe forever, or do we want to do our own thing?
Yeah, I would think we just stick with Net Label Day, and we try to
Okay.
get our own stuff up and running beyond that. Um,
Cool.
I mean, and maybe there be, like you're saying, maybe there be parties, or try to have events around the weekend. Well, I don't
Yeah.
know, whatever. I guess it would have to be this, yeah, whatever second Saturday, um, second weekend, whatever. I don't know exactly to pick
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
but it's the Greek uh, Easter is my family's issue. So um, I never know when things are going to fall. So
All right.
that would
Let's
be my vote. But
yeah. Let's switch gears here. We're we got like 14 more minutes on the recording. So the stream. Do you want to just like be in charge of that, William, and like figure out getting
Sure.
something up?
yes.
Okay.
What about the website?
What about it?
What do we want to? I mean, I feel like they kind of have to be working together because we'd want stuff
Yeah.
to know when there would be stuff.
Sure.
So-
Yeah. I mean, I just set up what I did sort of as a, like a proof of concept.
Right.
And I haven't really gotten any feedback on it other than the stream situation. But yeah, I'm happy to. Let me see here. I know I gave Omar an account. Yeah. The Firefox doesn't seem to get along with WordPress for reasons I don't really understand. Doesn't seem to be getting along with Chrome either. Did I do it with cannot generate knots? Okay, so it's I don't know what's going on with the API login stuff, but I can figure out later how to get you on the website. But yeah, I'm not wedded to look and feel the website. If you want
Okay.
to change things, go for it. But yeah, let me figure out later because I can't get logged in. So it's just giving me like an error every time I try to log in. But yeah, so do you guys have any thoughts on who would be like a good musician? I need to talk to Josh about this, but other than Josh, Lewis Ling in the Bombs, have any ideas like who would be a good like musician advocate
For the group?
Yeah, I mean, just even if they're not able to like show up at the meetings, just like, I'd like for somebody to, and like, yeah, Mike puts out stuff as MG, but I feel like he's more of a like a net labelist than he is a musician.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's
So-
a tough question. Like, who would you think is like the biggest star of the CC music world or like the net label world. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, I mean, I guess the thing is that like, you know,
What are some names? So there's
well, Nicholas Burgess is pretty involved. I mean, I think you need somebody who's like involved and understands like the scene a bit, you know.
What about Pot C? Or
I could definitely ask Potsy. He's been busy with his kids, but I could ask him. Yeah, he'd be good at it if he had the time.
Dr. Popular. I don't really know anything. I see him like he's doing the Fediverse stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never heard of him.
Oh, okay. There's John Worthy. I don't know what his stuff is on that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess.
These are just the names that I know.
I mean, the thing. I mean, I could ask John, but like, you know, he does tours and stuff, right? Does
John
he have
Worthy?
time to like? Yeah.
Yeah. I have no idea, but I mean, he's good friends with Rhino.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's worth reaching out. Yeah, and right now,
yeah.
What was that?
Where's Rosenstock on all this stuff today?
I was never able to get Jeff, you know, like involved with anything. Back when we were doing Music Mania, we had several people that were on quote unquote records, but Jeff was just too busy. But that doesn't mean that he's still, you know, it's been a while since I've reached out. So, yeah, I mean, I think he probably has the organizational skills to make that happen. Yeah.
Who's
Do
the
you
other
think
one? Go ahead.
that like somebody like David Rovix is like too political?
I don't know.
I mean, I think that like, you know, knowing about like unions and like, you know, things like that would be a useful thing for such a person.
Sure. Polish ambassador.
Yeah, he might be good because he's on a label. I don't know. I don't have a sense for how like busy he is. Like, and same thing with Doc Popular. Like John and Jeff and David, I'm all a little skeptical of they'd actually be able to do it, but they might just be in the sweet spot there. Okay, it's good. I got some people to reach out to. Yeah.
Well, I mean, how interested is Tom into all this? Lorenzo's music. Not so much. I mean, he's talking to people now, right?
Yeah.
But he's not specifically so CC at this point, right? He's always talking to people that are not, I think.
Yeah, I don't. He was doing CC stuff, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know that Tom is like. Not. I could talk to him again, but usually like organizational stuff is not really something that he's super keen in. I think, you know, like he has to like do all the organizational stuff for the band already. So like doing more stuff.
I'll totally understand. Yep.
But yeah, I can see. I think Pot C might be a really good option because he's not doing the block report anymore. So
Okay.
he might have that space available. So I'll start with him.
Another one, because I find his music on a bunch of labels, could be Cousin Silas.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I know he's released on like at least 5 or so labels.
Yeah. I know the name. Not really my scene, but yeah.
What's the name?
Cousin Silas.
I'll type it into the chat.
Okay.
I don't think we have meetings lined up for. I think I called this the summer meeting. Yeah, summer. I know that I have one for fall lined up. Maybe I sent one out. Maybe I didn't.
Color? I have no idea.
So if we're gonna do a fall meeting, probably needs to be like October or early November. Start getting into late November, then I think we'll have problems getting people to show up. Thoughts on weekends that are bad, good?
Well, do we want to do it like monthly, or is that too much?
Well, I think that I would like to not do them monthly because I think that will leave some space to do like calls for specific things. Like if you want to get me on a call to like talk about the website or something like that.
Okay.
Then we could do that. I think quarterly for like get everybody together and talk about stuff, see where we're at is probably good.
So you're thinking October?
Yeah, or maybe early November.
It's the election time, man.
Yes, that's fair. So yeah, October may be better.
Oh, and fucking
Not
Bears
the
too.
27th.
I'm not gonna want to miss any Bears games.
Well, we could do it on a Saturday potentially.
Yeah.
Of course, then you have college football, but I don't know if anybody
That's
cares
other
about
stuff
that.
too. Yeah, I don't know. October. For me, October Sunday, October 13th or the 20th. Bears play at 8:30 a.m. and then they don't play on Sunday 20th. I don't know.
You say 8:30 a.m.?
Yeah, the
Yes,
Bears
they're
are
in
playing.
Europe.
Yeah, they're in Europe.
Oh, okay. Like what? That doesn't make any sense. All right. So you said the
13th or the 20th. Those are
either
still
one of
Sundays.
those. Okay. Sam, thoughts?
That's fine with me.
So I feel like we were kind of wishy-washy about our decision. Did we decide on Net Label Week as being our thing? Not.
Not sure if we really decided. We're just trying to think of ideas.
I mean, I think we should do. Yeah, I think we should. I mean, I think we could call it a week and then see if we can do something around that. But
Right. Yeah.
specific
I mean, what
events,
is
I
that?
don't know.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Now, what week that is, I don't know.
So,
Whatever week July 14th falls within.
yeah, the 14th is a Monday next year, if I recall correctly. So,
Oh,
second Saturday will be the 12th. So.
Oh.